I'm Cormac MacSweeney in Ottawa, where today the Trudeau government unveiled the fall fiscal update, and it shows signs, good signs for the economy, as well as new spending from the government. Here to talk about it is none other than Finance Minister Bill Morneau. Thank you very much for joining me.
Great, Cormac, happy to be here.
Okay, so this...
Do I get to talk about it?
Yes, you get to talk about the fall fiscal update. So it shows that we're improving when it comes to the deficit anyway. $28.5 billion was the projected deficit in the spring. Now it's down to $19.9 billion thanks to this roaring economy. But you chose to spend some of that money, not dedicate all of that extra windfall towards paying down the deficit. Why not?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to know that that $8.5 billion better situation is net of anything we decide to do. Really, if I step back, the reason is a couple of years ago, we said to Canadians that we needed to deal with the challenges facing middle-class Canadians. We wanted to make investments in Canadian families. So when we increased the Canada Child Benefit and reduced middle-class taxes, that was about making sure that people could actually deal with the challenges they faced. And we had confidence that what that would do is it would improve our economy. So we're mid-term, we've been here for 2 years, and we've seen an incredible success story. We've seen that having confidence in Canadians has really paid dividends from an economic standpoint. It's helped the families, it's also helped our economy. So now that we're in a really good situation with an economy that's growing faster than any other G7 country, from our perspective, it's not the time to change the approach. We're saying that now's the time to make sure that we continue the positive results for Canadian families. So what we've done is we've done really three things. We've made sure that that Canada Child Benefit can keep up with the cost of living. So Canadian families will have $200 more next year and $500 more than next year after that. And then we've said we also want to help people who are struggling to get by, people in a low-income situation to improve their situation, because we know that not only will it be good for them, but it will improve our economy. They'll put the money back in. And finally, we've gone through a discussion, as you know, for the last couple of months about taxes for small businesses. And we found a way to make sure that the system doesn't advantage only the wealthy few, but that we can reduce tax rates for small businesses down to 9% for all those small businesses that are working hard and helping our economy. So for us, a positive economic outcome means we can invest in Canadians, and we know we can do that in a fiscally responsible way.
You mentioned that you're halfway through your mandate, and yet still there is no plan to get back to balance. You're still showing deficits over the next 5 years for this outlook. Why don't you have a plan yet to get back to balance?
Well, we're not going to choose to use the frame of the previous government. What we've said is really important is that we're responsible financially. So that means reducing our debt as a function of the economy over time. What we've shown today, which is I think you'll take a look at it and you'll see pretty incredible. We've actually shown that our debt as a function of our economy goes down over 5 years. So at the end of that 5-year term, we are going to have a lower debt as a function of our economy than we've had since 1977. So the positive economic dividends that we've received by investing in Canadians are allowing us to keep investing in people, which I think is what people want us to do, and at the same time being fiscally responsible. We're not going to take the frame of the previous government. They would have balanced the budget at all costs. They would have had to either raise taxes or lower spending on people. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep investing in people. We're actually lowering taxes on small businesses, and we're able to do that because it's creating the positive economy that we know it would, and that's a really positive thing. And our goal is now to keep moving forward with that objective.
How much longer are you willing to run deficits? When do you say now we need to get into surplus territory?
Well, what I'm going to continue saying is fiscal responsibility is important. So it's absolutely the case that what you're going to keep asking me is, how long are you going to keep investing in Canadians? And my answer will be, we're going to keep investing in Canadians because we know that challenge that middle-class Canadians are facing, where they're struggling to get by, we know that that's a continuing challenge. We know that people working to get into the middle class, that's hard, so creating an advantage for them is important. We know we can do that while being fiscally responsible. Lowering the debt as a function of our overall size of our economy, that's really, for us, the most important demonstration of responsibility against our fiscal goals.
There's nothing in this plan that really accounts for the risk if NAFTA talks fail. And if they do, that could seriously damage the Canadian economy. So why didn't you work in any sort of plan, given what we've heard out of the United States from the President, to try and prepare for the eventuality that maybe NAFTA talks may fail?
Well, what you just said isn't quite true, of course, because we've put in a cushion in each year of $3 billion. So what we've done...
NAFTA accounts for $2 billion of cross-border trade every day. $3 billion wouldn't account for that kind of serious economic issue.
Well, you're making a presumption that we aren't going to get to an agreement with the United States, of course. We're working hard to get to an agreement with the United States. You're making an assumption that we aren't going to continue being next-door neighbors to the United States and have a strong trading relationship. We think we will. Of course, we want to get to a better outcome for NAFTA. That's why we're working hard on that. But our forecasts do include an expectation of lower economic growth over time. We want to improve against that, of course, but that's what our forecasts show. Those forecasts are, of course, what's showing our good opportunity down the road. But we also did put in a cushion of $3 billion a year, which is actually pretty important. Remembering that $3 billion is the government's revenue. So when you think of the government's revenue, it's more like about 15% of the overall economy. So we think that that's the prudent way for us to plan for the future. And of course, we're going to remain very focused on NAFTA and consider how we can ensure that we get to a positive conclusion with Mexico and the United States. That'll be hard work.
There are several goodies in this fall economic update, things that Canadians can look at and say, this will impact my life in some way. Is this enough to take the political heat off of you over these ethical questions around your personal finances or the controversies over your proposed tax reforms?
We should de-link those things. I mean, I came into public life because I wanted to have an impact. It's really a privilege for me to be here. I worked with the Ethics Commissioner to make sure I had no conflicts of interest. I'm confident that that was actually the case. And now I've decided to go a step further because I want to make sure that there's no question around that. That's entirely distinct from our policy. We've been really talking since we got elected about how we can improve the situation for middle-class Canadians. So the Canada Child Benefit, that's really important. What we're talking right now is about making sure it keeps up with inflation. Lowering the small business tax rate down to 9%, that was in our campaign platform. What we said was we wanted to do that as long as we could make sure our tax system didn't give advantages only to those who are already successful. So we worked through that. You're right, there was some important discussion along the way. We listened to Canadians and we got it right. So these things are sometimes hard. We're going to keep doing the hard work for Canadians. Now we've gotten to a situation where that hard work is paying off. Lower tax rates for small businesses, benefits that are going to be improved for Canadians, and a fiscal track that's very positive, an economic situation that Canadians can say, we are resilient in the face of challenges like NAFTA or any other challenges that we might see. It's a really positive midterm update, and we've got a lot more to do. We'll keep working on it with Canadians.
Okay, we'll have to end it there. Thank you very much, Finance Minister Bill Morneau, and I'm Cormac MacSweeney in Ottawa for City News.